All right, everyone. Well, let's get started. I am super excited for today. My name is David Tolkien. I am the Director of Business Development here at Shop-Ware, an amazing cloud-based shop management system. I am joined by an amazing group of shop owners and moderator, consultant, friend, Catherine. But before we get started, I'll give everybody just a quick introduction, some housekeeping items. This will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. So if anyone needs a recording, you can let me know. I highly encourage you down below the bottom where it says Q&A. If you have any questions, please ask them during the presentation and we'll make sure to get them in as soon as possible. As you know, I'm in charge of figuring out these different webinar topics and finding people to be on them. And I think employee engagement is probably one of the most important things that's out there right now. And I say that because the other thing that I hear from shop owners is that they are having trouble recruiting and holding on to technicians. And I think they're actually very much related in that if you're going to go through all of the trouble to find someone and hire them and keep them and make them want to work at your business, to keep them and to hold on to them and not lose them to the dealership that's going to pay them an extra buck an hour is super important. So that was one of the reasons why I selected this topic. And without further ado, I'll introduce our panelists today. First, we have Reggie Stewart. Reggie is the owner of Reggie's Motorworks, which is a Euro shop, had since 2006, and Noble Auto Service, which is an American Asian repair shop, which he started in 2020, and he's in Noblesville, Indiana, which is an Illinois suburb. Interestingly enough, Reggie started out basically as a eBay used parts BMW business. And he got a $1,000 loan from his best friend in 2006 and started that business. And really it's just been on the up and up since then. Interestingly enough, he's only worked in his shop, never worked in another shop. He has zero formal automotive training. He's really just sort of an entrepreneur go-getter by heart. He's built these two businesses now into 2 stores, 15 employees, on track to do $3.5 million this year. He's just really into cars, really into building businesses. Like I said, I think he's businessman first and automotive man second, it seems, from the short time that we've been interacting. Interestingly enough, he when we were talking about starting bios and businesses, that he had a DJ business when he was in college, which he grew. And I actually had the same thing. I did that in high school and did all the high school dances and stuff like that. So Catherine might remember that from our days in high school. Yeah. And interesting enough, he said he'd never finished college, but kind of just got his unofficial business degree through the School of Experience, which I think is super important. So super excited to have Reggie here. Thank you. And we've got Ted, I think sort of Reggie's right-hand man, who is the store manager over at Noble Auto Service. Ted started his career in the automotive in 1993 on the parts side of the business as a BMW dealership. Along his sort of automotive journey, he's been a parts manager, a service manager, fixed ops for BMW, Infiniti, Volkswagen, Subaru. And then interestingly enough, in 2008, sort of spun off, went back to the family-owned business, landscape business for 10 years. I'm not sure when he came back and started working at Noble. What year was that, Ted?
That was in August of last year, 2020.
August of last year came back on. But he's got a long list of credentials, including manufacturer certificates and awards for parts, customer service, satisfaction, top 5% of employee satisfaction for all the BMW dealers in the US. In his time that he's not working in the shop, he enjoys woodworking, target shooting, reloading, gardening, and canning. I love that. We should have a conversation about that. I'm a big canner and homesteader myself. He's happily married to his wife, Tracy, of 29 years, and looks forward to both of his daughters, Taylor and Caitlin, graduating with honors from college this year. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. Good to have you here, Ted. And then lastly, on the shop side, rounding us out, we've got Phil Carpenter. Phil's been in the automotive industry since 2002. He spent his time as an Audi certified technician, service advisor, parts specialist, service manager, general manager, and is currently director of operations at Urban Auto Care and Avalon Motorsports in Denver, Colorado. They've got 4 locations. His credentials include ASE master certification, as well as he has an associate's degree in automotive technology. From the time that I've known Phil, he's very active, interested in technology and ways to improve shop efficiency and what's coming out and what's new. I've used Phil before and always always helpful to bounce ideas off of and sort of ground myself. And, because obviously I don't own a shop. He's been very helpful at, letting me know what's on the up and up and maybe what I say that doesn't make sense as well. He spends time with his wife and 5 children playing soccer, hiking, and camping. He's also the president of the mechanical division of ASA Colorado. So really glad to have you here, Phil.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, you're welcome. And then lastly, to round us out, we have Catherine Brinkman. I've known Catherine since we went to high school together, and I thought of her when we started thinking about doing this webinar because I knew that she had extensive experience in this area. So reached back out and reunited. Catherine is a facilitator trainer with 12 years of experience with Dale Carnegie Training, working with companies of all sizes across all industries. She now has her own consulting firm, which focuses on business plans and sales, sales as a service for tech startups. And since 2010, she's been an ISO certified online instructor. She's really known for her ability to transform employees and make them more productive, more engaged, helping managers push their employees to be more productive, and be better employees while at the same time, creating engagement. And with that, let's see, I know she grew up in the Bay Area, moved to New York City, I think in 2006, and is currently working on her master's degree in FinTech and corporate sustainability from NYU. She volunteers with Rescue Dogs New York City, helping with fundraising and fostering dogs. And in December of 2019, Catherine joined the advisory board of Pace University's Lubin Business School, providing insights on digital transformation. So super excited to have everyone here. Catherine, thank you for putting all this together. I know it's been a lot of work, and without further ado, I'll pass things off to you and let you guys take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you got it. Thanks for having me and reaching back out. Excited to be here. One of the things that I'm excited to talk about is a little bit of digital transformation, and obviously what Shop-Ware does is just that. So I shamelessly have not driven a car since 2017. I've not had a car in the shop since 2016. So things have obviously changed in 5 years. I had the opportunity to interview our panelists over the last about a month. And we have some real top-notch individuals here today that understand employee engagement, how to reward their people, how to keep their people. So on that note, I'm just going to really facilitate a conversation, have it pretty organic. So, I mean, Reggie, do you want to kick us off in your world? What does engagement mean?
Well, when you really fall in love with somebody and you decide you want to spend the rest of Now, in all seriousness, I actually do think of that scenario as a little bit of a parallel, because I mean, as employers or as leaders, how awesome would it be when we do hire somebody for them to want to spend the rest of their professional life with us? I mean, that's like, can it get any better than that? So if we look at it with that mentality, and when you think about a romantic relationship, you think I'm not engaged to her or she's not engaged to me. We are engaged. So for me, engagement in a business is very similar. That if I'm going to hire somebody, I want it to be a reciprocal relationship, and I understand my part of that relationship is to help facilitate it and help grow it, not just, hey, you're hired and now you work for me. That's just not what I've never been able to engage somebody that way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no. What you said, I mean, it really is a marriage. More than 35% of people are not engaged at work. So if retention is something that is a key factor currently, how do you get that marriage? How do you select it and make sure they're a right fit for the team? And that's what we'll talk more about. So on that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Phil, if you would let us know in your world, what does engagement look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the opposite of being checked out. You're checked in, if you will.
Yeah, no, totally.
That people are, your team members are like actively involved in improving themselves, the culture, the environment, and then just the team in general. They take pride in their work. I'm cheating on my notes here.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair.
And just an overall experience for our customers is it's almost as if they own the place themselves. I mean, that could be something small where you see a piece of trash in the parking lot. Does that person pick it up, or they just walk by? That's like a small little indicator that I look at. And then are they proactive versus reactive?
Yeah.
Do they take initiative instead of waiting to be told what to do? So
I'm going to have you dig a little bit deeper on that just as we go. We'll have a conversation.
Sure.
Why is that so important if they're willing to go above and beyond up front?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, any small business, like if you had some large dealership, you have, I would imagine Ted could speak to this better, but I did spend some time in the dealership, and there's a lot of different people and a lot of different roles in a smaller shop or in a smaller environment. I mean, you might have 3, 4, 7 people in a building. Like, you don't have an HR department. You don't have a janitor. So it's wearing multiple hats. I mean, as he was reading my different positions, that's a big part of it. Is that I've kind of gone through all of these positions, so I know what it's like in each one of those, and I know what each one of those roles typically means, but then how it all changes when it's just somebody's out and you got to cover for them, or there's just like, you can look around and see who else is going to do this, or you can just take care of it. So that's just kind of how I look at it.
Got it. And you mentioned Ted. So Ted, we'll go ahead and hand it over to you. One, if you want to piggyback on what Phil commented on, and then in your own words as well, what does engagement look like?
Oh, wow, it's it's kind of hard to follow those two because they've kind of said most of it, but engagement is so important in today's business. I mean, it affects profitability, retention, revenue, a lot of different things. I mean, I believe employee engagement means you're all in, and that's kind of all encompassing, I guess, to a point, but you're committed. You take pride in what you do and what others do. And I think most of all, it means that you go the extra mile, and not that because you have to, it's because you want to. So when you can find those employees and you can engage them, whether it be from your culture in the business or whatnot, they go that extra mile, not only for the teammates that work around them or work with them, but they also go that extra mile for the client. And that's probably the most important thing, because, it's those people that we're trying to take care of. That's a huge portion. It's probably the only portion of our business that we really have to be focused on.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up some statistics from a recent Gallup poll. What I mean by recent, it actually is this year. And just want you to take a look at it and see, of course, if it will come up, that'd be awesome. See what you think about these statistics. I mean, it says flat out that only 34% feel engaged. I mean, when it says feel, which is kind of soft and smushy, then another piece is that 53% are not engaged. So, gentlemen, when you see that 53%, if you think of your shop floor and you look around and you're thinking, great, there's only half of the people that want to be here, what comes to mind for you? And Phil, we'll go ahead, Reggie, go ahead.
I mean, I would say in our businesses, I don't believe that statistic's true. I believe if you're going to say 50% of people are not engaged, I would say there's another shop down the street that has the exact same number of employees that I do, and that's the 50% that's not engaged. I truly believe in our businesses that 95 to 100% of people are engaged.
And kind of when you look at your team, what leads you to think that? What are some of the attributes that you notice?
Well, in both shops, we have a weekly meeting. And in our weekly meeting, people that are engaged are active and they're communicating. And we as leaders, Ted as a leader, is asking for their feedback and receiving it. And I don't know any other way to engage somebody than to ask them and give them a safe environment in which they can be heard and understand that they're literally being heard, and you're taking their ideas and putting them into action. You do that and it creates, in my experience, engagement.
And I think a piece of this, if I look at the last statistic on the slide where it says 47% of employees are actually looking for a different job, I think that ties into the fact that you all on this call have a very defined company culture, and you have certain attributes about your shop where you're a cut above, I would say, when it comes to just the actual, detailing the car, making sure that the person that brings their car is up to date on what's going on, what are some of the challenges, and then also in a very subtle way, kind of forecasting, here are some things to think about with maintenance. We're not pushing you. So it's much more of almost a trusted advisor role with your technicians, and the fact that you all go ahead and offer training for them if they come to you and it's applicable. One of the commonalities that the three of you had was that you do offer training. You help them go above and beyond. So Ted, I'm going to have you go ahead and take it away, because I know you're working with Reggie, but when it comes to actually thinking of the people that come in the shop, how do you think that your employees engage with them? Because the culture is so much better. Like, what are some of the senses of pride that you see in your team members?
There's a lot there. It comes from the pride in the facility. I think that we have one of the cleanest shops around. I'd put it up against anybody. I think it's well lit. I think it's organized. And it's everybody takes pride in that. We love giving shop tours to our clients. We love walking them around, showing them the top equipment that we have. We like them to see our technicians' toolboxes, which in some cases are extravagant, but that's their work environment. That's their tools they use. When you can get the employees engaged with themselves, with each other, they naturally engage with the client in a positive way. And, some of those statistics you were throwing around out there, I agree with Reggie. I think the shop down the street might have 75 or 80% of their employees that are not engaged. And I think in our business, I don't think we don't have anybody that's not engaged. I think we weed those people out. And we're not just a cut above. I think we're way above. I think we have to be to provide the service that we do and that our customers are looking for.
When you were talking about pride, when it comes to working on cars, there's a sense of you have to like cars. I view techs that are really qualified and very good almost as surgeons. It's just that instead of a human body, they are operating on a car. So seeing the tools, everything that's state of the art, understanding why they like cars. I'm a huge car enthusiast. And one of the things that I learned when I went away to college was, hey, Catherine, check the water in the battery. Learn how to check the tire pressure. Do you even know what a fan belt is? And so as a result, to your point, I remember early on in college, my car totally just died. And they went in and they actually allowed me on the floor and they showed me. So it wasn't just this sense of like, okay, you're trying to like hustle me. It was much more, Catherine, here's where this is broken. Here's what this is going to cost. Here's where this is also weakening. So it was that partnership where I trusted that person, which then led me to not kind of give them a hard time. So then their emotional intelligence kicked in. They were nicer. They cared more about my current situation. And then when I left, the next person that came in, they had the same positive attitude. And I also think that based on the last statistic where it does say 47% are looking for a job, with what you all do, it's a bit different. And I'll say that because in order to be a mechanic, you have to like cars. You're not going to get somebody in there that doesn't like them. So Phil, turning it over to you, when you think about looking at your floor shop, how many people would you say are engaged?
I would say pretty dang close to 100%. There's days where somebody's not. We all have those days where wake up on the wrong side of the bed and not feeling it that day. But we look for that. I would agree with Reggie. The first thing I thought when you said that percentage, I'm like, well, somebody's bringing down the average. Like it wasn't me. We definitely take a lot of pride in our team, and hiring as a team is a big part of that. That it's not just us trying to facilitate that. You can do it kind of in one shop, less so on two, as Reggie and Ted feel. I can't be there for everybody in 5 stores. That's why we got to have our managers feeling that same thing that we're trying to feel. So yeah, it's I would say it's in that 90 to 100%. Nobody's going to be perfect for sure, but we definitely aim for as best as we can, because it kind of sticks out. I mean, people they love where they go to work. And so if something is bringing them down, someone is bringing them down, that stands out really quickly, and they're protective of that culture for you. So like, hey, so-and-so's struggling with this or struggling with that, or this is what's going on. And sometimes it's me talking to that person, but most of the time it's trying to give them pointers on how they can kind of work it out between them. We really encourage that. So.
And I mean that, let's just take it back and let's talk as a full unit here. When I put a question in the main chat, everybody, it's open to all of you. When you're actually looking for a new hire, what are some of the attributes or characteristics? And let's just get some responses. Feel free to raise your hand for those of you in the audience as to speak. But Ted, I mean, what do you look for when it comes to someone that is a good cultural fit?
There's probably several different things. And I want to go back and touch on something Phil said.
Definitely.
I guess it goes back to engagement of the employees, engaging them in the hiring process. It's the people that we bring in, it's as managers, typically in the old school, it's the manager that would interview that person and then make the decision on whether or not they're a good fit, and they would hire them and put them into place. In today's day and age, you have to engage the team in that hiring process. They have to be, they have to sign off on any new employee, because all of a sudden now they have a vested interest in making sure that that employee succeeds when they do come on board. And I think that's a huge part. That's part of engaging your employees, is asking them for that. As far as traits, last week we had a discussion, and it was all about going the extra mile. We had one technician that was off at training, and the other two had to really step up to the plate while they were gone, or while he was gone, and they absolutely did that. They went the extra mile, from helping each other to staying late to come in early, not because anybody asked them. The work was there and they had to get it done. It's that type of going the extra mile. I don't know how you quantify that, but in questions that you ask during the interview, you can start to gather some of that as to whether or not they are an extra mile type of person. It's dedication. You look at their work history, you ask them specifics, and you can kind of nail that down as to whether or not they're a viable option.
And then Phil, we talked about this as well. What are some of the attributes that you look for?
Yeah, I would definitely second what Ted said, but I would say attributes we look for. We look for somebody who's a continual learner. I mean, that it doesn't matter whether it's a technician or an advisor or manager. We all are growing as a company, and we want each of our team members to be growing as individuals. So we look for things like that. Sometimes it's a kind of a random little question of like, okay, it's Sunday afternoon, football's not on. What are you watching if you have a choice of what you're going to watch on TV? And sometimes you don't get what you're looking for, and maybe they do watch educational shows or something, but you'd love to hear from a technician like, oh, I watch, I don't know, like Discovery Channel, or I'm watching like car restoration shows or something along those lines. So just looking for that, or asking them like, what book have you read, any books lately, or anything like that. So that's a big one, is just continually wanting to learn and just self-improvement in general.
Yep.
Another one would be certainly work history. Look at somebody who's loyal. You want to look for people that we call it pulled instead of pushed. Were they pushed out of their jobs, or did someone recruit them and take them from somewhere because they have a great reputation type thing? Or, okay, they jumped around jobs, but why? Why did they jump around jobs? A lot of times that gets written off right away. Yeah. But if you can dig a little deeper and find out, well, I was promised this, and I was doing everything I could, and then they capped me, that I couldn't grow anymore. they wouldn't let me move up, those type of thing, where they're trying to be better and improve themselves, and someone's not giving them that environment. Those people, they thrive when they come to us, because they finally get that spot where, like, okay, someone's pouring into me, rather than like I'm trying to grow and I just keep hitting this lid and somebody's just trying to keep me down. Like, no, we don't have another position for you, so keep doing this for forever. Like,
So, I mean, that is one of the things that resonated with me. I'm looking at the notes and I had that highlighted while you just mentioned it, is you made the comment that career progression does not mean to be job hopping, and that it's okay for you to stay in one place and actually grow your career.
Yeah.
So based on what you talked about, it's like you're getting the cream of the crop even interested in urban care, because you have that vibe and that culture that's well known, that, hey, if you come in as a junior person and you like it, we'll groom you and you can stay.
yeah.
So you really are taking people that want to have more ownership within their career, and then help you grow your business as well.
Exactly.
And Reggie, what would you add to all of this?
Well, first of all, I'm a little distracted. I see a question up on the screen.
We'll get to it. I'm weaving it in.
Cool.
Don't worry.
Cool. I love that question. But so as far as an attribute of somebody that's coming into the organization, absolutely number one for me is attitude. Like, even when I'm talking to them on the phone, I forget, it was a peer somewhere along the lines that said they ask when they first phone interview somebody, the first question is, how's your day going? And that determines the trajectory of where that interview goes. If, a lot of times you get somebody, you ask them how their day's going, they're like, well, it's okay. It's like, you're probably not a fit for me. Or, oh, it's been one of those crappy days. Yeah, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but this is strike one. I'm not feeling this. If they're like, oh man, it's an awesome day, and right then I can teach you a lot on how to work on cars and how to work within my organization. I can't teach you to have a positive attitude, or at least I don't. Yep. That's incredibly difficult. So that just vibe that comes off of somebody is the number one most important attribute to me.
So we're going to throw it to a question. It's Jermaine. Scott Ford asks, what are some good tips for catching the attention of technicians to hire? So think of the last, couple months, because it's a rough economy. How have you been attracting new talent? We'll open that up to any of you. Phil, you're laughing.
It's weird, because it kind of goes in cycles, in my opinion. There's been times that we've been looking for people, and we've had to put big signing bonuses out there, and you just don't get anybody. And then there's other times of the year, it just seems like there's a flood of people that are trying to get in, and it's interesting. I don't know if there's any great way or one magic bullet that allows you to pull in the right people. But I think building that culture in a business that does spread in the community, you start getting people that want to work for you. And I think that's key. I mean, we've had that, and it's not all the time, but when you have people that are starting to seek you out, that's where you want to be, and that culture inside the business is priority. We've all tried the Indeeds and ZipRecruiter and a lot of the different places. Working with the tool truck drivers to try to find the good techs and some of the other facilities around town. But a lot of those good techs, when they hear about and they see, whether it be on social media or from someone else that has recommended us or said something about, or even a client, and that starts to pique their interest and they start seeking you out, that's an awesome feeling to have. But as far as what you do to recruit, you do all of the above and then some. But the most important thing is to make sure that your culture inside your store is one that that does permeate out into the community.
And I would add to that. I would just like Ted said, our goal is to make our shops a magnet for talent. But I think that where we've had a little bit of success is if you are open to hiring when the industry is in a dip, there's the times of year when our industry dips. And in our world, it's, right after the first of the year and get back to school time, we have just a little decrease in volume. And it's the last time you want to hire somebody because you don't have as much business as you would like, but everybody's going through that. And that's when there are technicians that start to think, I'm not getting enough hours, or it's not very busy around here.
Right.
This feels a little scary. So if we're in the financial position to hire somebody when we're slow, that's going to be the time to market to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, we try to constantly be recruiting, whether we're looking for somebody or not. Absolutely right. I mean, the times where you really need somebody, that's when it's like crickets out there. It just seems the way it goes. I mean, trying to think, I think we have at least 3 employees that we connected with, and it was somewhere between 9 months. We had one that we were kind of courted, I guess, if you will, since we're trying to talk about engagement.
Yes.
Courted with one for about 9 months before we hired her. We had a technician, was about a 6 to 9 month process. Another one was about 8 years of
Wow.
keeping that relationship going.
Yeah.
And then I think there's one more, it's escaping me right now, but and then another one where we offered the same guy a job twice and turned us down both times to go be an accountant. Just irony is that he turned it down the first time to go be an accountant, and then 4 years later, coming out of the dealership, he was not an accountant at the dealership. So, but yeah, it's constantly recruiting for sure. That's a huge part of it. And then, yeah, as far as other attractions, I think showcasing your culture as best you can, and by what Ted said is that team hiring process. I mean, Brian, our owner, typically goes through all the resumes, has a phone conversation with them, does those checks and balances of like Reggie said, do they have a positive attitude? Are they an honest person? Those types of things. Did they get the vision? Okay, now let's get them into the shop and then pass it to me, and then whatever store we would be looking to hire. And then they're kind of hands off and say, okay, you're here for at least 2 hours with advisors and a half day with technicians. These are the people you're going to be working with. So ask them whatever you want. We have nothing to hide, blah, blah, blah. That's been huge for technicians because they know. I mean, everybody's heard a line of how great a place can be to work, but how many times do you get that chance to talk to all those employees with that person not standing right there? Like, I mean,
Right. Exactly.
otherwise it's like, hey, Ted, this is a great place to work, right? And you're like, grabbing the neck on the backside. No, like, ask them whatever you want, walk away. I'll talk to you when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been huge. I mean, it's been very rare that somebody we offer to turns us down. But honestly, every person that does, I feel very confident, like I'm not missing out. It was something happened during that interview that they realized this isn't going to be a long-term fit for me, or I really don't want to work on cars anymore. I want to be an accountant. Great. Like, I want a hard yes or a hard no. Inside, in between stuff, don't give me yes. We had one guy, he says, yeah, let me think about it. And just like 3 days later, it's like, let me think about it some more. I'm like, I'm already like regretting that I even offered him the position. I'm like, please say no, please say no. And then I was like, I tried to call it out. I said, hey, I know you're looking around and I understand you got to look out for yourself and your family. But if you accept this position, you have to be 100% jazzed about it and excited and 100% committed. Otherwise, I'm redacting my offer, is what I said.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I totally understand. I get it. I just want to meet with these other people because I agreed to it. I said, that's great. You're honoring your word. I'm not going to hold that against you. So.
Yeah, no, and Scott actually had a follow-up question for Ted. When you're offering a signing bonus, should you offer it in terms of time?
Yeah, we normally won't pay that out for 90 days. So yes, obviously put a time limit on it. You know, if they're still there after 90 days, then we're going to uphold our end of the bargain and pay that.
And then we'll move over into what Eric commented in the main chat about suggestions for re-engage or current employee that's burnt out or disengaged. That's one of the things that I think the three of you excel the strongest at, is you know your team, you connect with them on those one-on-one meetings and those events. They trust you to come to you when there's problems for the most part, or they tell the other team members that they're around, hey, I'm struggling with this. So based on when you see someone that's a little bit disengaged or burned out, how would you address them? How would you kind of reel them back in so they go back to being all in?
Yeah. I guess I'll take this up from a management standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of talk. I guess old school philosophy is that you don't get that personally involved with employees. But in my opinion, we work with them, you know, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. I think you have to have that relationship with them. So when you see someone that's struggling, it's a lot of times you got to be engaged with them. You got to talk to them about it. Right. Find out what's going on. You know, we all have things in our life that are going on outside of work that can affect what's going on at work. So, you know, that's where, you know, when you do have a group of individuals that are engaged, when somebody is struggling, it's the team's responsibility to kind of rally around them. Help them out. And because we know at some point in our life or in our career, we might be at that same point, and we would hope that somebody would come to our rescue or rally around us to help us get through whatever it is. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's not, but I think if you just ignore it, obviously it's not going to go away. But the most important thing is to acknowledge it, figure out what's going on. You know, as you've invested a lot in that employee, so you have to engage them, figure out what's going on, and help them through it.
Interesting point, because you're right. You're investing your time and money up front to get them even onboarded. Yeah. So better to figure it out quickly rather than 6 months from now, oh shoot, you're not a fit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do get personally involved, and what I mean by that is just from an emotion standpoint. You know, everyone here I care about. I care about, you know, whether they're happy, if their career's going in the path that they want, are they making the money that they feel like they deserve for what it is that they do? Are there things in their job that they need that they don't have that would help them? You have to communicate. And they have to communicate with you. And once you break down those barriers that conversation can take place, it helps tremendously in making sure that they're happy and they're engaged.
I mean, Phil, you had a really good story about how somebody was struggling a little bit financially and everybody came in and rallied around them. Would you tell us about that? Because that really does show the heart that your shop has and how dedicated they are to each other. Yeah, we had this employee. He was kind of our lot porter, car wash guy, and he just happy dude. Still friends with him. He doesn't work with us anymore. He's with us for about 6 years or so, moved on to other things, but he was just a really hard worker, wouldn't complain about anything. And then somehow we got out of him that he didn't have boots. You know, like his boots were torn up and like seeping. We saw that, but then we kind of dug a little deeper and found out he didn't have a mattress and his power was shut off. And we're like, what on earth? Like, nah, like that's so it was a combination of just employees themselves spending their own money to get the boots and the mattress, and then Brian, our owner, took care of the power side of things. So it was a full team effort, and it's just, that was super cool to me, that it was, because there's been plenty of times where myself or Brian find out something and then we do something to take care of it, but that was the team. So that was just super cool to experience that, and we do continue to tell that story as an example to smaller things have happened since then, but that was just really impactful to me and just kind of
set the tone for our shop. I mean, that was when I think we didn't, that was just one store. That was when we had only Avalon before we grew other stores. So it's been quite a while, but yeah, it's huge. Mike Takaki, I'm probably messing up your name, had a great answer on there about engaging employees. I would certainly second that. We are the professional communicators as managers and leaders in the company, especially with technicians. They don't typically come to you with problems until they're already emotional about it, like heavily emotional. They live their life to fix things, and they typically don't ask people for help on it. So it's got to be a pretty big issue before they're going to come ask you about something. So trying to have those prying conversations before it's a big issue makes everything a lot easier. Like usually we'll catch somebody just slightly disengaging before it's like they're fully like checked out and out of here. And if they are checked out and out of here, it's most of the time it's something going on in their personal life that they may or may not feel super comfortable sharing with everyone. But there's usually someone that they'll share it with, and then that person will like, what's the word? Privately, just have a conversation to try to get that person some support and help them through it, because the cost of replacing an employee is astronomical and doesn't matter the position. So if it takes some time, money, and effort and emotions to pour into somebody for a time period, it's going to pay dividends in the long run. That helps add to your culture too. It's like, what did you do for me in a time of need? Like that employee I just mentioned, or you're going through a divorce and you got to get off early to go to counseling or something. Like, yeah, make it happen. Don't hold it against them. Like, say, yeah, go take care of yourself. We'll be here, whatever you need. So that has definitely bred loyalty and just feeling like it's truly a family, that you're there for your employees. So
yeah.
And Reggie, you've been shaking your head up and down. What would you add to all of this?
You know, it's I would say one of the key things one of the things that's helped me be successful from one person all the way up is having I have a pretty strong sense of empathy. And I can usually, at this point, I can walk into one of our shops, and if one person is disengaged, it usually creates a domino effect, and the whole shop gets a little off balance. And it's usually not a big glaring issue, but you just get a little sense that something's not quite right. You have to do a little investigative work. But if you can turn that sense up and realize when something's just, it's like if we're a lot of technicians here, right? If you can fix an engine that's got a minor misfire before it blows a spark plug out, it's the best way to take care of the problem. So, and then like both Ted and Phil said, it's a matter of having that private one-on-one conversation and digging and letting that person know that you really honestly care for them. And frankly, we had a technician that was disengaged a couple of years ago, pretty darn good technician. We certainly did not want to lose him, but he was disengaged, and his disengagement and his just lack of, I don't know, he drug the whole team down, and it wasn't anything malicious. And we counseled him on multiple times. Myself and the manager of that store had some really great, deep conversations. Turns out he had a lot of physical pain, back pain, and things that are just out of his control. That would, who's happy when they're in pain all day long? And he decided to make a move to go somewhere else. And man, when he left, a cloud was lifted from our business. Everybody felt good again.
Well, Scott and Mike also have a couple other questions, and it really goes into how do you incentivize the people that you have on your team? What are some of the things that you do? I mean, Scott asked just a really general question about, what are some incentives that you offer your team members?
Incentives. Well, I think there's a lot that we do for the technicians, everything from fatigue max out in the shop to we have a shoe program now for the entire staff. They have X amount of dollars they can buy Red Wing shoes, which is a good name brand with that gives them support and quality footwear. It's amazing. These technicians stand on their feet all day long on concrete floors. So as trying to assist them, what can we do? The fatigue mats help. The shoes help. The lighting in the shop. There's a lot of shops that are not lighted very well. Do you have the right lifts to be able to work on? Do you have the right tools, the jack stands, the things that, you talked about, Reggie talked about someone that, had back pain or this, that, and the other. Technicians are hunched over cars or they're up underneath, their arms over their head. So, anything that you can do to assist with that goes a long way. Air conditioning in the shop. Our two facilities, we have one of them that has air conditioning, the other one doesn't, but it is something that we plan on putting in. That is huge when it comes to a summer month, July, August in Indiana, where you got 90-degree weather and it's 75% dew point, and you're just standing there sweating. And now you got to work on a hot car that just came through the door. All those little things go a long way. And I don't think you have to go overboard, but when the technician or you see them struggling with something, what is it that we can do? Because sometimes it's minor. Sometimes it doesn't cost a lot of money. Sometimes it does, but what is the benefit to that? And what's the longevity of a technician? Because, you want a technician that you'd like to be able to extend his life in a shop and where he's not hurting, or when he retires, he's at a point where he can't enjoy life. I think that's important.
I'm going to brag on Ted a little bit because he breaks out a grill on a Friday and cooks for the guys in the shop. I mean, that's just one of those over and above things. A couple weeks ago when we had a killer week, he went out and got ribeyes and made ribeye sandwiches for everybody.
Nice.
I mean, that's the little incentives that go an incredibly long way.
Yeah. And Phil, I know you have family events and grills as well. Please comment on.
Yeah, we typically will eat at least once together as a shop at each location. I don't always make it, but they still do it whether I'm there or not. And then another kind of unwritten rule, but we still talk about it, is even if you're not eating lunch together, you're going to get lunch. Ask the other people in the store if they want something from where you're going. It's like, that's like a car leaving with the brake light out and you didn't note it. Like, it's the same level of severity. Like, you got to take that seriously. Like, that shows that you care about that person, even if they keep saying no, I'm good. Just keep asking, because all of a sudden, yeah, you know what, that sounds pretty good, I'll take that. And just helps feel included. So that's part of it. And then we do a couple of like company-wide get-togethers with ones like a family barbecue. Just invite whoever you want, your friends, your cousins, your grandkids, whatever, and all get together. Last time we did a barbecue like meat smoking competition. Gave away some gift cards to the winners and stuff like that. And then smaller get-togethers, we'll do like sometimes a couple of people get together. We pay for them to go golfing together, or we've done skeet shooting, go-karting, just going to an outdoor range, stuff like that. And it's usually some sort of mixture of people between the stores. It's not always just one store going. And then if we have like a record month or something like that, we do have something that we celebrate together with that store. Whether it's a catered meal, because you can't go to a restaurant, or some outing or something where it's just that store. So that definitely helps people feel like they're part of a team, and it gets them outside of work, so they can just talk about life. Because a lot of times we just get caught up in the day-to-day, and they don't have those conversations, and then they find out there's something that they really relate to each other in, and then they can talk about that when they're at work the next week. So
yeah, and some of these things are not really expensive. Like, it doesn't cost anything to ask doing anything, I'm going to like Subway.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all
It doesn't
free,
mean
so.
you're buying. It just means I'm going there.
Right.
Can I save you a trip?
Yeah.
And then, or if it's like a day where like technicians are just blowing and going, like, you know, they're not going to stop and go get lunch, and then, or they're definitely not going to stop for an hour. Like, buy their lunch. Like, you kidding me? Like, I don't care if it's $15-$20. Like, that tech working through, like, it's more than gonna pay for it. Like,
Yeah.
and,
Yep.
and you got their back. Like, hey, I recognize that you're pouring in extra today. I'm gonna take care of you. So
And Reggie, what would you add?
Add. There's a lot there. You know, it is, I believe, the small things. You know, it's minor details, just showing people that you care. Being a good listener when somebody does open up to you. You know, there's been times when I've just walked out in the shop and I don't, whether we're talking about a deep personal issue or just, hey, I'm having trouble with this car, just stopping and listening. And, you know, if you're invited to give advice, give advice. If you're not, just listen. I mean, that's really our job. It's free. And how powerful is it for anybody in this world to listen to you for 5 minutes? If that doesn't show that you're engaged, I mean, you have to be engaged if you want anybody else to be engaged in you or your organization. So I guess that's the bottom line.
And I mean, let's talk about the bottom line. So we have a couple more minutes. The bottom line really is being able to make sure that your customers that come in to get their cars worked on come back. That there is no problem, like someone doesn't forget to screw the oil cap on and it goes all over, or a fan belt doesn't slip off and it actually destroys other things. Because if you can have your people, Phil, to your point, for that $15-$20, have them go to lunch, stay there, they're fed, they're focused still, right? You're saving copious amounts of money long term because you're lessening the risk of an error happening. So the other piece to think about also is, how do you actually incentivize your employees so they are willing to go above and beyond? And Mike had a really pointed question. He actually asked that he is commenting that he's working on a weekly bonus program for technicians to earn extra income per flagged hours. So for example, if they flag over 35 hours, they get an extra $2 an hour and it goes up. His question is, has anyone else done anything similar? And have you had good results? So I guess it's Phil.
yeah. Yeah, we do a tier system. We do it for the month. And certainly we still talk about, like, what do you need to do in a week to get to that month? Because you want to talk in shorter increments. Just, we all naturally, like, a month can sometimes feel like a long time. And when we talk about only a month, and you do payroll, you watch the first half of the month, how productive they were, and then the second half of the month, and it was always more production in the second half. So we started trying to talk about week to week more. So it could be an argument for switching that, but yeah, we typically do like a 3-level structure where it's like, okay, you're at X number of dollars. If you produce this many for the month, if you produce this next tier, then that's an extra $1, that's an extra $1. So there's up to 4 tiers. And then that would apply to all of the hours produced for the month. Because you want to have some weight to it. I mean, if your bonus is $40, like, it's almost a slap in the face. Like, it's got to move the needle. It's got to be able to feel that a little bit in the bank account. That kind of thing. And of course, as the more productive a technician is, you've already kind of outrun your fixed operating expenses. There's more money there to play with and incentivize someone. So that's something. And then for our shop foremans, we do a team bonus as well. And then advisors and managers, they bonus together off of gross profit dollars for the month. So there's not like the cherry picking of certain tickets or certain customers. They're working as a team to just take care of everybody. So that helps as well to just kind of back up that whole team environment.
Reggie's had anything you would add to
you know,
that?
we've done the tiered pay structure as well, and I believe it was a $2 increment from 30 to 35 to 40 to 45 hours, and it has worked pretty darn well. As we've grown and evolved, we've had more and more technicians that just naturally assume they're going to be more than 40 hours, and they're actually frustrated when they're frustrated with not getting enough hours more than we're frustrating with them not being able to produce the hours. So you have to create the pay plan that's right for the technician in their place in their career. Because the younger guys, especially guys that maybe they're not engaged, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe they just haven't engaged with the career and the industry in general, or the pay plan. But and maybe a little financial incentive, chasing that carrot helps them. But at a certain point, the dream technician is just like, I had 45 hours last week, boss. Why didn't you get me more cars? So,
Yeah.
and then that opens up a side conversation of how all the work's distributed, managed, and everything else. But
We do have I believe, maybe I'm not supposed to say this, but there is another Shop-Ware webinar in a couple of months talking about recruiting and retaining technicians. So we'll have that too as a preview for later.
Nice plug. So, I mean, just as we come to our time together, I'm going to give you each, in a few sentences, what advice do you have for our audience today? So, Ted, I'll start with you. What advice do you have for the folks on the?
We've covered a lot. I mean, engagement is everything. I mean, we're in the people business. Yes, these people own vehicles, but we are in the people business. Everything revolves around us engaging the client, and that engagement depends on how we engage behind the scenes. I'm a firm believer that if we have happy, well-informed, trained, and empowered employees that are valued and appreciated, you can accomplish great things. When employees feel valued and appreciated, there's nothing they will not do for you or your clients. So, the benefit of the employee engagement has a huge effect on everything from, like we talked about earlier, profitability, revenue, customer experience, and the employee turnover. So engage them, create that culture that people want to work there, that they're proud to work there, that they'll scream from the mountaintops that, hey, this is where I work and I'm proud of it. That's what you want to create, because it'll take care of a lot of the problems. It'll take care of your CSI, customers coming in the door, the Google reviews that you're looking for. Engage them, treat them as if they are part of the team and the family, because it is a family.
I mean, they're the face, right?
Yep.
Reggie, final thoughts?
that's a tough one to follow. I would say that if you're in a situation where you're struggling with employee engagement, I respectfully say, look in the mirror. I feel that it's my responsibility as the owner first, and then Ted, he does a great job, but it's my responsibility as an owner to make sure that I am engaging my staff or my team. And I want to think more in terms of what I can do for them versus what they can do for me. Because if I do for them, and that's my core responsibility, then they're going to return that favor. It's going to be reciprocal. But it's me first, me giving first, and them giving back, I think is a strategy that has served me very well in my career.
Phil?
Yeah, what they said. No, I just had very, very simplistically, but just caring for them personally. There's a lot of that can happen naturally, but just know that these people are spending their lives. They've chose anywhere in the entire world to work. They are working for you.
Yep.
So take that very, very seriously. And know that we all spend so much time at work. It's more time there than most things, if not everything. And it's very important for them to feel cared about. And absolutely would second what Reggie said. You have to lead by example of going out of your way to do something for them. something for them, because you want them to stay late and fix that car and get that out of there for that customer to come through. What did you do for me? Well, it's not, hey, will you stay late and then I'll get you this, I'll buy you lunch next week. Like, no.
Yeah.
do it ahead of time, and don't do it with an asterisk of you're gonna owe me. Just
Yes.
do it because you care about them and because you're trying to show them that, and without asking for anything in return. And if you have the right people on board, they're gonna recognize that, appreciate that, and they will pay it back to you in some way. Take care of them, they will take care of you, and they will take care of your customer. So,
All right.
Yep.
On that note, we've concluded our time. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. We
absolutely.
can take some questions. I guess we can have time for 2 questions. If anybody has one, go ahead and raise your hand or type that in the main chat. If not, thanks for your time today. This was great.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I really, really appreciate it. I thought that was a pretty great webinar. So, I certainly a lot of value for everybody that was on, and we will definitely have it out there and populate it. That was great. That was great. Thank you so much, Phil and Reggie and Ted, and
Absolutely.
you as well, Catherine.
Yeah,
Got
thank
it.
you for
Thank
having me.
you.
Yep.
All right. I guess that concludes it. Everyone have a good day.
You
All
do
right,
the same.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.